Welcome back to It's All Light. I'm your host, Natalie Baugh, and today's lucky guest is Angie Cluff.
Hello!
She and I have been trying to get this episode done for like a year, so I'm so happy I get to interview her today.
Oh my gosh, I know. It's been a process, but yes, we're finally doing it. I'm super excited to be here too. Natalie, you're amazing. I love listening to the podcast, and
Thank you.
I'm just super lucky to be a guest on it too.
Literally, just every guest I interview. That was so fun because everyone has something special to share. So let's dive in. Angie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm just honestly like a super simple person with a really great God that's taken me to like a lot of places and done a lot of fun things in my life. I grew up in Nauvoo, Illinois, and Seattle, so I graduated with like 48 people. Kind of a place that like is a lot of people just never move away. It's just super small town, and they don't really have like a whole lot of ambitions. And I kind of was like, I feel like this world has so much more to offer. I feel like there's so many more things for people to accomplish, especially like girls too, and women. Like a lot of cool things that I think that the world teaches like women like shouldn't like go off on their own and explore or whatever. And I was like, well, I'm gonna do that anyway. So I moved away from home. I went to school at BYU and at Weber State. I served a mission for the LDS Church in Costa Rica.
Cool.
And then I got home and I was just like, I didn't really want to take like a conventional lifestyle, really. I wanted a lot of freedom, as most people do. And so I kind of searched like a lot of different jobs, and I found kind of this career in what's called traveling X-ray. So I work in healthcare, but I work as like kind of like a crisis worker. So when a hospital doesn't have enough staff, I come in and I kind of help take the workload for some of the full-time staff at a facility, and it gives me the ability to, it gives me the ability to work for like 3 months and then like take 3 months off, and then on my 3 months off, I'm trying to see as much of the world as I can. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Yeah, literally, we're gonna dive a little bit into like the 28 countries you've been to, each one a different experience. And then one more get to know you question, what's your go-to activity on a rainy day?
Ooh, that's a good question. On a rainy day, I really love just getting like a super like soft blanket and like and just buying a bunch of snacks and just watching an episode of Grey's Anatomy. It's so funny because like I live the hospital life, and then I'll go home and I like still want to eat it up on TV. But
that's awesome.
That's probably the go-to. There's lots of fun things, but
I love that. So yeah, you work as a traveling tech, what X-ray tech? Is it international or just statewide?
It's statewide. I'm actually trying. A long-term goal of mine is to create kind of an X-ray program and combine my love of traveling with healthcare, and potentially there's no like travel programs like internationally for techs, but I would love to figure out how to do that someday. Cool. And be able to like kind of take techs internationally. But yes, it's mostly stateside. That being said, I've done contracts in Hawaii for 2 years, and that was kind of like a foreign country in some ways. But yes, it's mostly stateside.
Cool. Well, and you said, you said you grew up kind of in a small town, and that kind of spurred your desire to travel, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you've been to
for sure
28 countries. If you could choose your top 3, what would they be?
Oof, there's so many. Bali was amazing. Bali was super fun.
That sounds amazing.
Yes, Bali was so cool. Just the people. It's like everything you want in a dream vacation. It's super cheap. Like a meal costs like $3.
Wow.
A taxi is $6. But like then there's like elephants you can ride, and like waterfalls you can jump in, and everything's warm and tropical and
that
beautiful.
That does sound so nice.
Yes, it was incredible. And then I really loved Morocco. Morocco was really cool
Oh,
too.
yeah.
We rode camels through the Sahara Desert for like 3 days, and that was just a freaking dream come true. And
So
that
fun.
one was really cool because I went by myself there.
Oh, yeah.
I
Solo trip.
didn't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't know anyone, and so I kind of like met like people in the airport. It's when you solo travel. I've kind of done a few trips solo traveling, and when you do that, you have to talk to people, right? You have to get out of your comfort. And there's
Mm-hmm.
like for me, like once I like break out of familiarity, like that's when I feel the most alive. And like that's when I feel like my true self is when I'm not
Cool.
just doing the mundane, like kind of like routine things.
Right.
And so yeah, so when I was on the plane, I reached out to someone that I didn't really like think I would talk to on the plane, and they ended up like inviting me on this trip to the Sahara Desert with them, just from like opening my mouth and like kind of talking to them. And we ended up like it was so cool to sit around this table and just have someone from Germany, someone from Switzerland, two people from Italy, a person from Korea, and me from America, and we're all just sitting here like sharing this meal together, and I'm like, this is what life is about. Like this is what I wish people could experience more of. And
Oh,
like just
yeah.
the ability to connect like with different people and different cultures, I just think you learn like so much when you travel.
Oh my gosh. Amen. And those who like don't love traveling, there are other ways to like get this fix. But I don't know. It's just I don't understand those people. But most people I know enjoy traveling though, and it's so fun to hear you talk about it though. It's like getting me excited. That's like
That's really
the
sweet.
joy of passion. Like bright passion is like so contagious. Like if you share just a glimpse of it. So you prefer traveling with a group of friends versus solo traveling, or they're just two different experiences?
Oh, they're just so different, but I guess it depends what you want to get out of it. If you want
Good
to learn
point.
about other people, go with a group. If you want to learn about yourself, go
Go
alone.
alone. Ooh.
Yeah, go and honestly, I think in those moments, I love to travel because I feel like it strengthens my relationship with the Savior. I'm a big believer in Jesus and all those amazing things. Jesus is awesome. And I think I tend to see a lot of him like when I travel by myself.
Oh,
I think
cool.
it's awesome. I think it's an experience that I think every person should have in this life at least once is to go like get out of your comfort zone, break away and just kind of feel of like what he wants to tell you. Like it's a really reflective time. Like there's a lot of quiet time, you know, when you
That's
travel by
so
yourself.
cool.
But it definitely is an ability like a ways and a means to kind of like commune with God almost if that's what you are into.
Is it ever scary?
Yeah, there have been some scary times for sure.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, especially like but but I think it like I guess like one time just in Costa Rica and I had like walked there and like talked to all the people there.
Right.
But I just didn't really like um realize like how like powerful, you know, like it is to be like a missionary down there. And so like when I went back the second time, it was just like a completely different situation. And I ended up getting like my wallet stolen and all this stuff,
Oh,
and we had to
no.
go through a whole like process and ordeal to get that back. But like other than that, like I really like if you have a group of people in countries that you should have a group of people in,
Yeah.
like do your research, like find out like which ones are safe to solo travel to
Totally.
and which ones aren't. You'll be fine.
Cool. I've spent a few nights by myself in Europe, just like wandering around, and there's like, you just have to pay attention, especially to the spirit, but like, you know what's sketchy and what's not, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you're smart, it's not too crazy. Okay, one thing you mentioned that I want to ask you more about is you try to do an act of service in every country you go to? Tell me about that.
I do. I can you hear me still?
Yeah,
looks like my
you're doing great.
Yeah, I actually write them down on my phone.
Oh, cool.
I will try to, like, in every country, like, I try to pick like one person to help. And it's anywhere from like just like hearing a taxi driver's life story and thinking they might need a little extra. And like just kind of tipping really good to honestly like taking I remember one time in Guatemala I bought like a whole box of oranges and we just like went around to this like nursing home and like we just like took oranges to them and just talked to them. It was like, yeah, it was like the most random thing, but it honestly was like one of like the spiritual highs of like my whole entire trip, like because it just was it was just really fun to see how excited they were, not just to like have an extra meal because Guatemala is a pretty poor country, right? But just to have a piece of fruit, it was crazy to see the joy that even like a piece of fruit would bring a person.
I love that.
And then like just honestly talking to them was so special. So
and so you speak Spanish and so can
I do, yeah.
That's so nice. You can connect with so many more people. I love that.
You know what? But a smile speaks all the languages, right? So,
yes.
You know.
Now I'm just getting so anxious to travel. You also mentioned, so you do your solo trips, you do friend trips, but you also do like humanitarian trips. What got you into that?
I do, yeah. My family grew up kind of doing them. So like I remember when I was little, we would go to we would do humanitarian projects every country like that we went to as a family first. So I would we went to Cancun and we worked in an orphanage for a week.
No way.
And then we went to when we went to Costa Rica actually before my mission. My dad served his mission in Costa Rica too, so we all went back together. And so, yeah, he took us back and went to we painted a school down in Costa Rica too. So, Guatemala we did a lot of humanitarian work there as well. So, yeah,
that's so fun. I love that this was like part of your childhood too. That you
it was, and then. Yeah, and then it kind of just went on to I just love those kind of trips. They're just so much more fulfilling, I think. Like I think there's a difference between travel and vacation. Yeah. And I think vacationing is amazing. Everyone needs a vacation. Everyone needs to take a vacation. For me, I think I find more fulfillment out of a travel trip than I do like a vacationing trip. And a travel trip, I think usually for me involves like a spiritual aspect and like also like a humanitarian aspect to it. So I've been involved with the humanitarian experience for youth for the past 3 years, and it's just been
nice.
Yes, HXP, and that has just been the highlight of my year. Like every single time I've done it, it's just been like it's amazing. Yeah, that's
so awesome. I love that. There's so many questions I have for you too. I'm like, okay, where do I start? Where do I single out? I also honestly want you to like list all 28 countries too.
You want me to?
Yeah, we'll do it real fast. If you haven't memorized, I bet you have like a list. We can also just post it with your picture.
I do have the list. Okay. If you want the list, let me pull the. Is it gonna cut my video out if I pull up the list?
Yeah, that's all right though.
Shoot. Okay. Well, we can list them in the comments.
In our show notes. But also just like how often do you try to travel? Like you said, your job allows you to have months off. Like do you ever plan like an international trip every year, or do you have any systems, or you just go when there's opportunity?
Just with my work schedule, when I'm working, like I'm like a play hard, love hard, cry hard, work hard kind of person. Like, nice. And so like when I'm working, I'm like dialed in. I can't really do anything else. But then when I'm off, like I'm super off. Like I'm away, checked out of office. And so I tend to go I try to go. I want to hit 30 countries by the time I'm 30. I have one continent left, Antarctica. So hopefully Hopefully someday
Wow.
I can go there before. I think my goal is to try to hit that before I'm 30 as well.
Wow.
So
Very
I guess
cool.
I just try to plan according to that
Just your
as being
your
like,
bucket list goals and stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Cool.
So
So cool.
yeah.
I know it's like I want to go everywhere. You said that too, but it's like okay, now I have to see like what's realistic, what's like the top priorities. So, besides Antarctica, where do you want to go next?
I would love to do an African horse safari. So you do safari, but like on horseback,
Oh
which is
my
I'm a horse
gosh.
girl. I love horses. So
Wait,
yeah.
amazing. But what if the lion like attacks your horse? That sounds kind of sketch.
Yeah, I know it's crazy. Like like the little like side note underneath this like
Hmm.
description says like if you don't have like a bunch of experience riding and if you cannot ride away from danger, like don't come.
No
So
way. Whoa.
yeah, so we'll see how that goes. But hiking Mount Kilimanjaro would also be
Yes,
really cool.
that's
But
actually on my list because I don't have a desire to do Everest, but Kilimanjaro, I'm like, it's
yeah,
the next best thing. And it's still
yes.
so amazing. Yeah,
All
I think
right,
it,
Natalie, when are
African
we going?
safari?
That's
Yeah, okay. DM us if you want to join. I love
seriously,
that.
girls
Um,
trip.
so I have a few more things. I'm gonna quote you that you sent me. You said, "Breaking out of familiarity." So I can't say that word. Breaking out of familiarity makes me feel alive and teaches me about myself. And I want to
Yes.
just ask the counterpoint of like some people would argue that no, you need your familiarity, you need your like routines. I mean, they could be viewed differently. But can you
Uh,
go into depth on what that means
yeah.
to you?
No, I love that. I always kind of like when people are always like kind of just ask like what do you kind of like what are your like standards for yourself and whatever. And someone wise once like told me like Angie, I used to be the opposite. He said like Angie, tell me what you've done for yourself, not for your parents, not for your siblings, not for your like leaders at church, not for tell me something you've done for yourself. And I actually had to sit there and I had to think like, oh my gosh, it's not a lot. Like I don't feel like I've done that many things that to this point in my life that like have really kind of woken that part of me up that I feel like I didn't
Hmm.
discover until I started breaking out of my shell, breaking out of familiarity.
Like a solo
And
trip.
so yeah, a solo trip. Yeah, that was and so that was kind of the first move. I ended up moving to Hawaii to take that job all by myself. I just went out there not knowing anyone
Wow.
and I just sent it. And that kind of really sparked a lot more of just like wanting more of that,
Hmm.
of just like not being in uncomfortable situations and connecting with new people. Like it just brings me so much joy.
So
And
cool.
so yeah, that's I think you do need routine. I do think routine is super important.
Yeah.
I think that you do need to have some sort of routine like on trips and like on
Good point. Good point.
yeah and just your everyday like exercising, eating healthy, like you need to have discipline. um I also think though like if you get too caught up in that, um life's short, babe. Like it's gonna pass you by, and I just think people deserve to enjoy their life
Hmm.
and enjoy like it deserve to like feel that sense of I'm doing something for me and that I know like that God wants me to do, but like I'm doing something that ultimately will like bring me a lot of joy, and I think that's the whole reason we're here is to feel that and to enjoy that. And I feel like a lot of times people
Yeah.
get caught up in that routine, and so yeah.
And I feel like that purpose that you were just talking about is like 98% connecting with those other people along your way, like along your journey. You also
Yes.
mentioned in your form, like, even if you don't have opportunities to travel, like, traveling can be expensive and or you can't get
Mm-hmm.
time off work, we're not as lucky as you. But you were saying like go get to know someone new. Like it goes back to that root thing of like it's just connecting with people, even strangers.
Yep.
Did you ever watch the
Yep.
This is Christmas movie this year? It was a new one on Amazon Prime, I think.
Oh, I don't know if I have,
Oh,
but
I
I'm
mentioned it
gonna
in
go watch
another
it now.
podcast episode, but it was amazing. And go watch it now. It's not that Christmassy, but it's with Dean Thomas from Harry Potter. He's the main guy. And he just is on this train
Cool.
commute and just stands up and was like, you know what? I'm going to throw a party. We're all strangers, but a stranger's a friend you just haven't met. Anyways,
I
it's
love
a
it.
great movie, but it's the same idea. It's like there's just so many connections waiting to be had. And that could
Yes.
be, I don't know, just somehow at the grocery store talking to the cashier,
Yes.
Yeah, once I went.
And I
Yeah,
honestly,
go ahead.
like,
Sorry, keep talking.
the first time I went and like stayed at an Airbnb by myself, it was literally in Heber. Like it was like
Oh,
just straight
really?
up the canyon.
Oh, nice.
Right after finals, I just booked a little Airbnb, like a tiny cabin by myself, and I was like, I need to refresh, I need to reset. Like I'm just gonna go and do this, and like I think once you find the beauty in the simple and the little, like that's when you're gonna be able to appreciate the big.
Ooh,
Yeah. And so like when you travel too, like it doesn't have to be this like exotic, like, oh, we're in Iceland, like seeing like volcanoes, or oh, we're in Chile, like looking at the mountains in Patagonia. Like it doesn't have to be stuff like that. It can literally be like down the street. You can make an adventure out of your backyard. And I think when you share it with somebody, there's a quote by Alexander Supertramp. And he's from the movie The Into the Wild. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I'm looking
But
it up.
He says happiness is only real when it's shared. And so like when you're sharing these experiences with other people, when you're breaking out of your shell, when you're learning outside of your comfort zone, like it creates something beautiful, and it creates like memories that will last forever. It will create friendships that will last forever, and it will be something that on your rainy days, like you can like draw back on, and you can like just think about those times, like on the days that are hard, and you can look back and say like, I've done that. Like those were my experiences. Like I had those experiences with other people, and no one can take that from me.
Wow. How do you record these experiences? Do you journal or anything when you travel? Or now?
Yeah, I do. No, yeah, I do. I have just a little travel journal. I wish I said I had like more to share. I'm really nervous, but I might someday start like a travel page on Instagram or something like that. But
do it. Make it into a book. Sell it on Amazon. Like
You're so sweet.
There's some appeal. Like everybody has something unique to share. Like there's hundreds of travel pages, but like people keep sharing, and there's always something someone can learn from it. Like when I go on trips, sometimes I just look up any and every podcast on the place I'm going. And
so cool.
I'm like, you could even just start your own podcast, or maybe we do a whole episode on your travel stories. Like it's fun to hear them. It inspires, it warns people, like I was like, ooh, I want to do the horse safari, but the fine print, that I'm like, I probably can't run away from danger on a horse, so I'll stick to the cart.
Oh, you can do it. We can do it. We can figure it out together now. That's the beauty of life, is we're all just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, amen.
But I think you've inspired me in a lot of ways too for that. I've loved watching you create a podcast. I know you'd feel like sometimes it's like, oh, like, like, oh, it's just my podcast. No, Dad, it's so awesome. And I think what you are doing is just as amazing too. I think you're incredible.
So. One day it'll be a traveling podcast, and I'll interview strangers in different countries or something. I don't know. I have big
that'd
hopes.
That'd be so cool.
And you make those hopes a reality. So I'm like, okay, how is Angie doing this? I just gotta copy what she does. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. And honestly, yeah, like it's interesting. Like as far as like the way I'm able to travel, I think I do a lot of research too of like how to save money on trips and whatever. But
yes,
ultimately, like if you're willing to just be a little bit uncomfortable, you can save a lot, and it's really not hard to travel. And also there's a lot of what am I trying to say? There's a lot of different like resources that help people travel too. Like, like credit card, like travel cards and stuff like that. I haven't bought a flight in like 2 years. So like it's just with points on my credit cards. And so it's just like there's a lot of ways if you feel like you can't, just like a little plug for that is like there's ways. So anyway.
Okay, well, we'll do a whole episode on that because everyone always loves how to travel and save your money or like not spend all your money or your life savings, but man,
yeah,
I look forward to that. Any last words for the people listening that you want to share?
Oh, just like just do it. Money comes back, time doesn't. Just send it.
Send it. Send it. So, you said something earlier, like, just do it, babe. I'm like, yes, okay. Title of the episode.
You won't regret it. And I certainly feel like I have been very blessed and very fortunate to just not focus so much on things and stuff and just focus on like the memories and the people and the places I go. That's what I light up about. So yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. I'm just so giddy now. I'm like, this was amazing. So everybody, be sure to follow Angie on her adventures. I'll post her info in the show notes. And we'll talk to you all next week. Bye.